So we won't be doing breakout rooms today. We'll be doing group shares. But I did want to invite, please share to the comfort level that you feel, open to. And if anybody gets triggered in a way that feels uncomfortable for them, please send us a note in the chat box. And Anna Prabha or Scott, would you be willing to offer secondary support? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So if something comes up where you get triggered and you're feeling uncomfortable and you need some extra support, just send us a note in the chat and we can do a little breakout room to help support you in whatever way that's needed. So today we're doing this class on emotional resilience, and it's a part of a 10 class series, mastering all of our relationships. And we are also, train of thought. So we are here in support of, or because of the Love Coach Academy. And we are also preparing to move into the Relationship Essentials course, which starts in April. And so the Master Series is a way to connect with everybody, get connected to the community again, really like hone up our skills. But then Relationship Essentials starts and mentorship program starts in April. So if you would like some more information about that, it's a really powerful way to not only learn the skills, which is valuable as a skill set, but also learn how to, for me, mentorship helped me learn how to embody the skills. Like it changed my relationship to myself and the languaging that I use for myself. So I think it's a really powerful process. So without further ado, Scott, what do you think? Should we move into class? Okay.
It's great. I just started recording a couple minutes ago. So.
Oh, great. Thanks. All right. I forgot that I was supposed to tell you, so I really appreciate that.
Just getting brilliant. Let's catch it. So
Awesome. And let's see, who do we have here today? I would actually really love to just start with some connection. Could we just go and can everybody just say your name and where you're from? And maybe something that you love about yourself. I would really enjoy to hear from you. So my name is Jessica. I am currently living in Grass Valley, though I am from the Placer County area in California. And one thing I really love about myself is my ability to meet people in depth with lightness. It's something that I feel is sort of a gift it sort of is God in certain ways to feel that. Because I feel like it allows me to go to great depths, but it also allows me to be light with them. And it's sort of, I don't know if it's a Gemini quality, but that ability to kind of merge darkness and light is really, it's a powerful part of experience that I feel grateful for being able to live in, And clearly it's okay, as sometimes when we share things that are powerful or we feel our gifts, like for me, I feel a little bit nervous doing that, just vulnerably. Sometimes it brings up some judgment of ourselves. So who would like to go next?
I'll go next, and I want to say it is true. Jessica is amazing at being very deep and keeping it very safe and very light. So yes, that's true. I'm Scott. I'm in Hidden Valley Lake, which is in the wine country north of San Francisco, north of Sonoma. And I am grateful, part of myself that I'm grateful for is building community. I've always been a community builder. I was the kid that organized the baseball team when I was 8 years old. And so I love building community, and so I kind of bring that up because that's part of what's happening, in our Saturday morning classes. It's building our Love Coach Academy community. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Scott.
I'll go next if
please.
green, burgundy so far. Color, like little Tibetan monks, me and Scott. To your, the green goddess teacher. So very nice. My name's Anna Prabha, and I live in Northern California, San Anselmo. I have two wonderful children, 134 and 122, just turned 22. Two little tigers, two tigers. What I love about myself is, and I love that question because it is this almost, it's very vulnerable, but also it's like, oh, do I have the right to say that almost, is it like, you know what I mean? I don't want to think too much of myself, right? Or is it, one thing that I do love though, there's a couple things I want to share. It's just like the love I have for my children and the safe spaces that I've been able to create for them to really be authentically who they are, to always have their emotional freedom. If they were mad, they could be mad. If they were happy, they could be happy. If they were excited, they could be so excited. And, actually, if my daughter wanted to draw on the wall, she could draw on the wall. And I thought it was fantastic. I took pictures. So I think just giving, and that's kind of what I do with my clients also, just this ability to feel safe in a safe, sacred container to really tune into their heart's desire and who they are and what they want to share, so, and be. I guess that would be my share right now. Thanks.
That's gorgeous, Anna Prabha. Thank you so much for sharing.
I'll go. I'm Chris, and I'm currently right now in Nevada City, California, but in a week I'll be moving to Mill Valley, California, where I lived for about, so I'm near Anu Prabha. Hi, new neighbor. So I've lived I lived there for years, and I'm from Boston originally. What I love about myself, several things. I'm really resourceful. I think that's just a sense of optimism. I've been through a lot internally in my own inner experience, but I don't look back on it with any self-sorriness. I mean, it seems like it couldn't have been good at all for me. And I didn't need to learn those lessons in the way they came to me at all, or by the degree they did. But I just let them go a bit, or just I'm grateful in some ways. And then finally, I really like that I'm really curious. I've just attracted the people who I've into my life, the people who I found most interesting. And I just been able to just sit with people who mean a lot to me and learn from them. And so I think my genuine curiosity is something I really appreciate in myself. And when I see it in others, I really like it. So.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate your genuine curiosity as well. It's one of my favorite qualities about you. And Chris is actually a conscious magician. And so you just have ability to weave through all of these beautiful, I mean, I think that the basis of magic is really that beautiful curiosity. I love the way you do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lorna, and I live in Northern California in Novato, but I spent most of my life in Manhattan. I moved here about 8 years ago. I guess what I love about myself the most is my courage to march to my own drum beat. I've never married or had children, and I couldn't figure out how to do that somehow. But yeah, I grew up I'm 75, so I grew up in the 40s and in the 50s mostly, when father knows best was the way families were supposed to be. And my family wasn't like that, and I wasn't like that. So it's taken me my lifetime to figure out how to do life. But I'm persistent. Thank you.
That's glorious, Lorna. I welcome your own drum beat. I'm excited that you're here today.
Hi guys, I'm Naomi, and I am in the middle of moving and I haven't decided where. So my things are stored in Marina del Rey, and I'm in Tulum, Mexico, recentering and presencing my transition in my life right now. And it's mostly relationship transition. And the thing I like the most about myself is my ability to see the good in every situation and approach life with kindness and grace. And I'm really, really happy to be here. This has come at the most perfect time, and I'm very excited to learn from you, Jessica. So thank you for holding space today.
Oh my goodness, it's my dear pleasure. Thank you so much. Oh, and you may hear my dog at certain points. She is verbose.
Yay. Thanks, Scott.
Really glad you're here with us, Naomi.
Okay. I don't know how many of us there are. This is George. I'm in Santa Rosa. I'm also very glad to be here. I've been scrambling this morning. I got an unexpected return of my investment from Harbin, and I'm looking at where to put it, feeling some trepidation about investing and my money situation. I think the thing I like best about myself right now is my perseverance, my endurance. I have a lifelong hearing disability, and so I wouldn't normally be wearing reading glasses, but I'm lip reading. So I'm grateful to be able to see all of you so well. And I've gotten on Scott's case a couple of times to come from across the room to be a little closer to his camera, you know, on Saturday Night Live. And so it's very nice to meet all of you. And I'm a psychotherapist myself, so I know what it's like being in groups and trying to run a group. It's much easier when we get to share and can get down as humans, and I don't have to be in my trance medium and be psychic reading everybody. And I do compensate a lot for not hearing that way. So anyway, I think that's enough for me for right now. Thanks.
George, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for the endurance that you bring, and also I'm excited to hear from you and learn from you as well. I mean, I am excited to learn from everybody, but that's what we get to do as a group, right? So I'm happy we're all here.
I'll go. Hi, I'm Deborah Haviland. It's nice to see you, Jessica. I've always loved your laughter and smiles, and so nice to see Anu Prabha and other people where we are love coaches with the Love Coach Academy. So one thing I love about myself is that because I was told that was the question you asked, is I have always loved growth. I've always been on the growth path and loved personal growth and development. And since my 20s, like doing dance and yoga and studying psychotherapy and humanistic psychology at Tufts University. And then in every decade, I've been teaching and leading retreats and being really creative. I remember my lights, camera, action classes with Vineet Allen in my 30s in Marin, and just designing classes is something I love, and I love transmitting. So I trust myself to just open up and have it come through. So I love my creativity. I love my commitment to positivity. And I'm excited about things I can do in the future with Love Coach Academy and with my Universal Heart Wisdom show. And it's nice to see everybody here and to feel all the different flavors and wonderfulness of each person's heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. So happy you're here. And I saw that Candace was raising her hand. Can I unmute you? Let's see here. Scott, are you able to unmute
No,
Candace?
unfortunately, Zoom changed it, so Candace will
Okay.
have to unmute herself. But that's a good reminder. I am going to make you co-host and also make on a proper co-host.
I did it.
Oh, yay. Nice. Great work.
Sometimes the button's there, sometimes it's not. So I found it. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Candace. I currently live in the state of New Hampshire. I am blind, so don't see anything that's going on here. Wow, I'm really grateful to be here. What I love about myself, the first thing that comes through for me is my emotional depth and capacity to really feel people and go beyond this 3D world. And yeah, I love that I am aware of the unseen world.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Candace. We're so happy to have you and your wisdom here today.
Okay. Thank you. I'm David. Can you hear me?
Yes, we have you.
Okay, okay, good. So I live in on Vancouver Island in Nanaimo, British Columbia, about 30 miles across the water from Vancouver. I got into this. I just signed up for this last night, having not participated, but observed or witnessed your amazing conversations you were having. And my wife and I have been watching the Saturday Night Live fairly regularly, and we also have done a few NVC classes in the last couple of years before the COVID. And one thing I love about myself is there's a couple of things. I'm a connector. I like connecting ideas together, seeing disparate things and how they kind of relate, and also people, connecting up people with what I think might be good for them or might connect with them. And I must say, I didn't know what I was getting into in registering for this class. I didn't know whether there was going to be 50 people, 100 people. I didn't know, and this is what it is.
Well, David, thank you so much for taking the chance. I think that, I'm with you. There's that sweet spot between structure and flow. And I often find myself sort of bouncing between those points. Like, how do we be available in the moment while still leaning into the known? And I get it. Thank you for being here. So grateful.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Oh, go ahead, Noelani. I'll mute again. Hang on.
Oh, thank you. George, I'm curious, do you sign ASL?
No.
Okay. Got it. I was wondering if
Well,
that
yeah,
might...
like that. I can make some signs, but I don't know American Sign Language.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do, and I wanted to know if it would help to when I was talking to sign as well.
Yeah, it also doesn't help to be overly accentuating your mouth movements.
Sure. Okay.
So just be completely natural is good.
Okay. Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you for your concern, your interest.
Sure. So I'm Noelani, and I live in Kauai right now, Hawaii. I miss my home of New Mexico. It's beautiful and wonderful and blessed I feel to be here on Kauai right now. I also really miss the Southwest, the high desert, and the green chili, the amazing food and culture in New Mexico. So I'm kind of missing home right now. And what I love most about myself is an interesting question. I don't know if I ever asked myself that question. But initially, when that question was put out there, I thought of my empathy, because my empathy, I think, I'm learning to appreciate my empathy and how it's a strong suit of mine. I think because I feel so deeply for every living thing. I mean, like down to, I don't even like kill ants or bugs. Like, I just believe that everybody has a God-given right to be here and live. And so that has sometimes been really painful for me, knowing that there's a lot of pain and suffering in this world. So in some ways, I've learned how to kind of shut that off in me. So lately, I've been more comfortable with knowing that my empathy actually is quite potentially my greatest gift to humanity and to others. And I have an inclination and an intuition that my humanity and my empathy and my desire to be integral in everything I do is actually the gift that I was put here on the earth to give. So yeah, that's what I want to share. And then also, Chris, I really appreciate you saying that you have a natural and genuine curiosity, because I'm a very inquisitive person. I love growing and learning and knowing things about people, learning things about people. And I think with you being able to express that and really own it, I mean, I saw you glow when you were sharing that almost gave me permission in a way to look at that as something beautiful in me. Because at times, yeah, thank you so much. Because I think at times some people may not take that as genuine curiosity, and they, for whatever reason, I feel like I've been scolded before in my curiosity or my inquisitive nature. So it's a strong suit, and I appreciate that very much. So, and I appreciate that in me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noelani, for your share. I mainly work with empaths and intuitives, and so I get the struggle. I am a big time feeler, and I think that one of my favorite authors is Tom Robbins, and he says that a big front has a big back. And I just love that statement, because like our biggest gifts come with our biggest challenges. And if we can really release the past, or like release the pain, some of the pain points of what helped develop these strengths in us, that's really, I think, for me, that's where I found that I really thrive, because I'm able to give my gifts without experiencing so much of the pain and the heartache. And I get it. The struggle is real. I think, it's like, to be a feeler in this life is so rich that it's almost too rich sometimes. So it's that sweet balance point between the two. So thank you so much for bringing that into the space. And I want to welcome, so we have 4 people left to share, and in the interest of time, because we've had a few people, our group is larger than what I imagined, which is so great. So in the interest of time, we're just answering the question, what's your name, where are you from, and maybe a couple of sentences about what you feel, and what you love about yourself. And we'll start the presentation shortly. Okay, so who would like to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. So I'm Sarah. I'm from the UK, just outside of London. So that's where I am. And what I love about myself is how I am as a mother. I find that I'm not that confident in many areas of my life, but when I'm parenting or in that role of a mother, it's just so natural, and I feel like I'm in the flow, and it's just, yeah, I just feel that's just one of the best things. I'll leave it brief. I'll leave it there for now.
Oh, Sarah, I love that. Thank you so much. Can I ask you a personal question, though, even though I just asked for us to leave it brief?
Yeah. Go for it. I love it.
That sweet spot between structure and flow, right? So I'm curious, like when you mother yourself or your inner voice, does it reflect the voice that you give to your children or your child?
No, I think the way I mother myself, I'll do the opposite with my son. So he has a lot of compassion, tenderness, acceptance, all the things I know I should give myself and I'm working on. But
oh, it's so gorgeous. I love your
I can identify it in my head, but when I look at the actions.
Identification is always the first step. So that's beautiful. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing. It's beautiful. So Jeff, Laura, and Jackie, do you feel like sharing? Jackie, hello.
Hey, I guess I'll share since you just said hi to me.
Ready to be called on, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So hello, my name's Jackie. I'm also from Nevada County, from the good old Republic of Rough and Ready. This is a first time doing something like this for me, so I'm also experiencing the newness of it. And if I could think of anything that I really appreciate about myself, I would say it's my playfulness. I really just love play, whether that's being sassy or whether it's gaming or social play. I just feel like the give and take of interaction. I feel more alive when I feel playful and or in creative aspects where I get to play with art or crafting.
Well, I love your play, Jackie, and I'm so glad that you brought your funness to us here today. Stoked. So Jeff and Laura, are you ready to share?
Yeah, I would like to share. So I'm Laura and I'm in Los Angeles, California. I'm here the whole time. I'll turn my video on for talking, but sometimes I get a little paranoid about seeing myself. It makes me very uncomfortable. Actually, like Jackie, because of her expression, I want to say that I also love play and I love that about myself. It's a huge part of my work, and thinking about it through embodiment, but also not so much Christian anymore, but the values that I took from Christianity are forgiveness and unconditional love. Unforgiveness. Yeah, I hate revenge or unforgiveness. Yeah, so I'm really into forgiveness and unconditional love, and I like that quality about myself, and I give people the benefit of the doubt always. That's just my natural state of being. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Laura. I'm so happy you're here.
Me
and
too.
Jeff, what would you like us to know? What do you love about yourself and where are you from?
Good morning, everybody, and good Sabbath. It's a beautiful Saturday morning in COVID. It's a blessing to be in the circle here. I'm still learning, and that's kind of one of my, an elder told me 50 years ago, always learn, keep learning every day something. And one of my traits that I really appreciate about myself, and I live in Cascadia, 2 hours north of Seattle, near British Columbia. And so I really appreciate my resilience. It's getting a little bit tiring sometimes, bouncing back from falling down, but it helps me to learn more about myself and the grace of keeping in the flow, and remembering my magic too, that I learned when I was a child, not forgetting it, because elders have told me that the tooth fairy doesn't really exist, So plant medicine helps me with that. And I'm also learning to listen in my older age, to be quiet and let people complete their thoughts.
Gorgeous.
Where are you, Jeff?
I'm in Port Townsend, Washington.
I see, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for your beautiful shares and for letting us in a little bit so that we know you. And I think that helps to create a really loving container for us to do, whether there's going to be questions throughout the presentation, and whether we're processing internally or externally, we're still witnessing each other. And witnessing has a huge, witnessing allows it allows to be met with presence, and it integrates us in a deeper way. And we can talk more about this a little bit, but without further ado, emotional resilience. Here we go, guys. I'm gonna do a split screen here. And so let's see.
Yeah, I don't think there was any quality I couldn't identify with myself.
Perfect. And so can everybody see the screen here? I'm not really sure what is, Scott, can I get feedback on the screen?
Yeah, so we see the screen, we see emotional resilience,
Okay.
very large, and we see you to the side.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, that's right.
So at any point, if we can't see the words, just raise a hand, give a shout out, and we will address it. So emotional resilience, what is it? It's the ability to bounce back faster and easier from stress and triggers. I mean, obviously, stress and triggers just happen. We live in this life, in these human bodies, and there are a lot of things that we can't control. And so emotional resilience creates, I almost want to say, a sturdier backdrop for life. It's like, so yeah, we'll get into it. So why is this important? First off, I really wanted to share that a lot of the ideas today I'm pulling from both my work as a brain spotting facilitator, which is a somatic mindfulness-based practice. It's an evidence-based practice. And so you'll see some brain slides, and we'll go into some of the science around how we process triggers, why we process triggers the way that we are. And my hope in doing that is really to normalize the experience of being human. Because a lot of times we have a lot of judgments about what we should be feeling, what we should be doing, what we aren't doing, how we should be better. And so it's one of my big goals in life to help normalize the emotional experience of being human. The other thing that I'm drawing from today is Emily Nagasaki's work. It's actually a book on female sexuality and female sexual response called Come As You Are. And one of the reasons I loved her book is because the basis of it is how to be open to experiencing pleasure. So if you look at how the brain and neurochemistry works, the pleasure center of the brain cannot be activated when the trigger centers of the brain or the emotional distress or stress centers of the brain are active. And so I love the way, and I use some of her ideas in this presentation to help elucidate what this process is. So why is it important to build emotional resilience? I mean, this might be obvious, but it's basically because we want to move through difficulty faster, and we want to also build the capacity for presence and joy and pleasure. I almost look at our body as like a vase, like a container. And if 75% of that container at any given moment is experiencing stress, that leaves very little capacity to experience pleasure. So we want to learn how to move through things quickly, and also make space for them, which we'll get to in a little bit. So when our energy is focused, oh, and you know what? This is funny because I can't see.
I think we're seeing the one you want us to see. It's
okay.
She's focused.
I can't read it though, which is oh, well, basically, this is just the same idea. When we're focused on stress and triggers, it's just a different part of the brain. We don't have as much access to the pleasure centers of the brain. And, of course, emotions are not good or bad, right? There isn't any right or wrong to emotions, and it is vital and essential to our experience to make space for everything. However, we still enjoy pleasure more, right? We still enjoy some parts of the human experience a little bit more. So we're learning how to release things faster so that we can be more present. So I'd love to hear from a few of you. And maybe we can pick about 3 volunteers. And I'm really curious, what areas of your life would you like to develop more emotional resilience? And Scott, would you mind calling on people because I don't have access to the full, can you switch it to group?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna turn off your screen sharing.
Oh, great. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
And I'm going to gallery. How's that?
Okay. Perfect. So I would love to hear from you. What are, from a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, what are areas of your life where you would like to benefit from more emotional resilience? Candace? Beautiful.
Oh, shit. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear, honey.
Yeah, we heard you.
Now, Candace, you did not demonstrate emotional resilience when that goof happened. You gotta learn how to control it. That's what
I feel bad 'cause I hope I wasn't distracting with my noise earlier. I thought I was muted.
no, it's all good, Candace.
All right. So, well, right now I am currently working on emotional resilience around like big trauma, childhood wounding, like navigating having memories and visions. And now that I'm blind, finding a grounding point, can be a bit more challenging. It's easier for me to get lost in here. So yeah, I am trying to find my new practices to help cultivate more emotional resilience when I'm getting these memories or these triggers. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Candace, for sharing. I hear that, as these emotions, memories are coming in strong ways, that I'm also imagining that there's a strong somatic response. And so I'm, it's in my experience, I would say, what part of your body, so obviously, you're feeling the somatic response of these memories. So is there another part of your body where you feel grounded, neutral, or calm? And I would say, in a quiet moment, if you can go and you can resource those places in your body that feel grounded, neutral, or calm, and start to breathe in and strengthen that, we can really use our bodies as resources, as it sounds like you really know. And it sounds like, but we can use it when we're in a calm space to find those resources within our body, meditate and grow the attention there so that the feeling becomes stronger, and then utilize those in the difficult moments of trauma or stress in order to resource those other access points in the brain.
My feet and my root are definitely grounding points. Fast movement, getting in the body. Interestingly, right now,
Back. Yeah, you're back.
So right now I have a physical pain in my eye, and every time I feel this pain, I'm reminded of a time I was beaten up and I had just a big old black eye. And so sometimes it can be really, really, really hard. But yes, coming to the body. Yeah. My feet and my root are grounding points for sure.
Oh, yeah. And I'm really just hearing you and offering empathy to that deep place of pain for you. So, yeah. And so just to like break this down for the whole group, So that's the process, right? It's experiencing the pain, offering empathy to the degree we can. We're not stopping the pain from happening because it's a natural part of the human experience, but we are allowing the emotion to run its course. We are meeting it and allowing it as it is. We are resourcing in our body a place where we feel strong, grounded, neutral, or some other positive emotion that is significant for you. And then we let that grow. So we understand, well, what emotions are in this positive space for me? How does my body feel when I focus on these places? And then we use that strength to help meet the challenges. And really, I mean, this is, I'm doing this presentation. This is the first time I've actually done a PowerPoint presentation. Mainly I'm just off the cuff, but this is really what we're talking about. Because life has some really fucking hard shit. We all have it. We've all experienced it. I think the degree to which we can process it on our own is awesome. And then sometimes we need extra help, which is why people like me, like Anna Prabha, Scott, this is why we all do what we do, because we love helping. So thank you, Candace, so much for being so vulnerable in your share, because I think that it really does elucidate, like, how do we powerfully meet these very difficult places? And I just, forever, I love your bravery. It's forever and ever. Thank you. I'm curious if anybody else would like to share where they would like feeling more emotional, or where they would like to experience more emotional resilience in their life. Anuprabha, yes.
Oh, if nobody else wants to go, I don't want to, where I would like to experience more emotional resilience. Just for me, coming out of like an alcoholic childhood, being an adult child of an alcoholic, and recently just being back in that family after the passing of my stepfather, and just saying as an aside, I'm kind of really good at holding space. I'm like a death doula for people to pass over, to make transitions, creating safe, sacred spaces. And when I'm with my family, just my siblings, it brings up this fight, flight, freeze, fawn, how to survive. And so I think for me, this emotional resilience is I'll go into shock. And then it's almost like this paralysis and, of wanting to not being, you have to be like walking on eggshells again, because whatever, you don't, it's a landmine, and you just like, so I think for me, that's just in a nutshell, is this like, I can get triggered and shock and then paralysis and the fear of like just wanting, using all my love coach skills, by the way, make it through that family situation. However, I think I just deep down, I still feel this really shock, and then really sadness and grief around this inability to communicate with my siblings and how to communicate in a way that it can receive. And there was a moment, but it's like speaking with people who are altered. And even though you think you're having a breakthrough moment, in the morning when everybody's sobered up, it's not, So I'm just having a lot of sadness, a lot of grief, and a lot of just shock around that. And that can also come up in my regular life. I can get triggered and this emotional vulnerability and then the fear of not being seen or heard the way I maybe want to come across, or being abandoned, or even being hit, even though my friends don't hit me now, right? I will not, but it triggers for when I was beaten when I was a kid. I could say something and I just remember this time comes up, have a band. I've had a lot of bands in my life, and I'm often I'm a Libra, female, so I balance, so I'm always a leader, not always the best musician, or maybe the best deep listener. Anyways, I'm best deep listener to all. There's like balancing the ego and the male ego. Sorry, men. But I remember I was in Canada, in Quebec, and we had this huge gig, and the lead singer was always late for rehearsals. And I'm like, okay, you got to show up for rehearsal on time. And there was such an energy by just me requesting that. It was feeling like he wanted to hit, like I got hit for making that request. This is years ago. I've learned to make better, but still, that kind of feeling of being slapped if you say the wrong thing in the wrong way. And I think also the lineage of just being a female, we have that with our throat chakras and our whole lineage, right? But so I would love to have that emotional resilience to when the shock happens, that I have put more of a voice to it in a way that I feel heard and it can be received. Is that?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for blessing and honoring us with that. You were so clear.
Oh.
And so beautiful the way that you described that. And can I just say too, I mean, I want to give you empathy, and I am, like, my heart is like going out to you, which I hope that you feel.
I feel you.
And how freaking phenomenal that you were able to step back into that, to that situation with your family, or into these band situations, and still use skills. I mean, because really, like, that shows how much I see how much you show up for yourself in order to manage these very challenging somatic, I'm imagining, experiences. And somatic means, in case anybody doesn't know, somatic is the way that we experience things in our body. It's the physical experience of an emotion, basically. And so, God, how spectacular. I mean, like, I feel like there should be confetti around you for being able to show up with this extremely difficult situation where clearly everyone, clearly, I don't know if it's clearly, but everyone, I'm imagining, was experiencing a tremendous amount of stress. And you, with your deep Libra heart, trying to balance and meet and be heard and understood and understand others and create connection. I hear just a significant amount of care and love. And one of the other things that, so much care. The other portion that I would love to bring to light, because I think this is deeply, deeply valuable, is that we have emotional stress responses. They are so human, and we all judge them, right? We all think, oh my God, I should be different. I should have done ... Oh God, you guys, it's so debilitating, isn't it? We're doing the best we can. We show up. And certainly we always have to take responsibility for our own actions, but at a human level, at a brain, body level, that response of fight, flight, the desire to run away, fawn, or freeze are significant emotional reactions that are totally human and totally normal. And for me, because I heard you say, my body goes into freeze, right? And I think that as a society, we can often deeply judge freeze and fawn, which fawn has to do with, if you have someone who if like we have a history of trauma, and we have a history of someone else taking power over us or feeling much more powerful, the person in fawn response has to do it. The energy is like, I'm going to go towards you and meet every need that I can to try to keep myself safe. So that is often, like, when I think about attachment styles and anxious attachers, it's like, I can see it in my dog too. Like, but these are just animal responses, right? Like, she gets in trouble and then she is like at my side and I'm like, oh my God, give me space. You didn't do anything wrong. Just go lay down, you're okay. So, but it's like we judge ourselves so harshly for the freeze because we think, well, why can't I just like my brain is telling me these are the actions that I should be taking right now, but my body feels paralyzed. I don't have access to my emotions. I don't have access to my skills. Like that is not your fault. Period. You're doing the best you can. So I'm a fierce advocate for the humanity of all of us. I don't know if you can hear that. Okay, so thank you so much, Candace and Anaprabha, for sharing so deeply. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to learn from your experiences, and thank you for your bravery in meeting life. So we're going to pop back into the slideshow, and I want to go over. Yeah, we're just going to jump back in. So I'm going to do the screen share.
Could I say something? I'd like to
Yes.
make a comment, like something that came up with Anaprabha's share.
Yes, thank you.
I have a clip-on camera. It's kind of awkward for me to work it here, just learning. It's new. As she was talking, I realized I've recently learned that hearing is a feeling experience, and that I had a pre-verbal rage at abandonment. And so a lot of stuff that's come at me has been in resonance to my unconscious anger and frustration that I was broadcasting through the sound, the tone of my voice at times. I wasn't even aware of doing it. But now I'm a sound healer and I can do some pretty amazing things with my voice. I'm more aware of this. So I think there may have been some truth to what one of my friends said to me once. I hear you, I see you hearing so well that you can't listen, somebody said. So it may be that my not hearing is an emotional blockage, although I've had a lot of ear infections and I'm pretty sure some of it is real physical disability at this point. So I just wanted to throw that into the mix because here I am looking at people, seeing their lips and reading. I'm in a different part of my brain. I'm not in the part of the hearing center of the brain. And so I'm talking lots more cerebral than I will in a conversation with, it's more emotion based with a girlfriend, more love based. So that's the area that I need more development and expansion because fortunately I am an Aquarian, Aquarius rising, and it's my time. And we all need to be talking about, learning about these things, I think. So, and also not being overwhelmed by the emotions, which is the shadow side of the divine feminine, you know. People can get overly attached to how they're feeling. So,
Wonderful.
yeah, staying with love. And so it's been great to hear those that can do that. Scott and some of the others on a Saturday night, it just has really helped me to get into that groove. I resonate with that space and just kind of either stay there or at least I remember where it's at and can help lead the collective back to that sometimes, just through humor, creative expression. And so
Thank
that's,
you.
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing you say is that there's a desire to be more. I think what I'm hearing you say, I'd love clarification too, is that there, in your listening process, it goes to a different, more cerebral part of your brain, and that there is a desire to maybe drop in a more emotional way, or there's an ability to drop in a differently emotional way when you're in a different heart space or when there is more, and this is Jessica, this is a question, I think, maybe when there's more safety for you or more being held. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Right. And in a lot of groups, it's just too much stress for me trying to hear, to be in that emotional space. I was recently in a group that was all about recovering the sacred feminine. And I felt like the identified patient in that group, you know, just not able to do it. I had to get right in front of people to hear. If it's a sizable group, 20 people or so, I just can't understand everybody in a group that size. At least now I can lip read everybody because I'm a foot from your face, you know.
Yes.
The camera doing that, so that's a benefit to the virtual MO that we're doing at this point. So yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm sorry I can't make it any more clear, but
Oh no, I just wanted some clarification. I wanted to make sure, and I also heard you say that you feel that you have some pre-verbal trauma that you feel has, I mean, I'm imagining what that might feel like for you, but that it
I'll tell
may.
you what, I will tell you the results of it. I observe in myself, I alternately will cling to a friend, alternately cling to them or push them away. So
Yeah.
I'm either overly clinging to others or I'm pushing them away if I get the signals that they may not like me or have interest in me. So I
Hmm.
flip between those two ways, I think, as a result of that wounding.
I see. Well, I love your insight into that. It's phenomenal, and that you have an understanding that that's linked to pre-verbal trauma, I think is just really incredible, right? That's a celebration point, even if, even if we haven't been able, even if we want a different behavioral response that we're not getting from ourselves, understanding these links are huge.
Yeah, and talking about it doesn't get me there, obvious, because it was a
No.
pre-verbal wound. I've got
Yeah.
to use some cannabis or something and go be in nature and to
Well, and
bring out me
actually,
in
that
the body.
that's actually what we do with brain spotting and other somatic experiences, because it's a pre-verbal, it's in the deeper part of the brain. So actually, I'm going to pop back over, with your permission, to the screen share, and we can go into some of the different types of triggers, and we can talk a little bit more about the brain and where these different aspects come from. Are we ready to do that? Are we on board?
I'm
Yeah.
finished. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Skip some of these sides. Okay, so I typically break down triggers into two categories. This is a Jessica oversimplification, so bear with me, but I think it helps to elucidate two categories that we can easily work with. So the first type of trigger that is rooted in the past, and it has to do with developmental trauma, PTSD, or CPTSD. So these are things that require a different level of unplugging from the past. And this is where somatic processes are really helpful. So just like we were talking with George, there's a part of our brain that holds our triggers, that holds our old trauma. And that is a different part of the brain than we use in order to access skills, be our adult selves, really show up in the personalities that we know and love. Whereas the deeper wounding lives in a deeper part of the brain. And that would more be like where we do shadow type work and integration type work to help neutralize or help past trauma and past pain come to integration with the whole. So the skills that we're going to be learning today have more to do with the top part of our brain because they're skills. And so if we're dealing with issues that are rooted in the past and based in pre-verbal trauma, developmental trauma, and I use the word trauma very casually. What I mean by trauma is past pain. So triggers that are really tied primarily to past pain are going to require a different level of unplugging than stress happening in the moment that is less connected to old trauma. So when we talk about the different parts of the brain, which I will bring up in the next slide, we talk about, and actually I'll just scoot there right now. This is a picture of the brain, obviously, hopefully. And Candace, I'm sorry, I will describe this as best I can with my imagination. But basically, when you look at the picture of the brain, on the top portion, that gross kind of grayish pink aspect is the neocortex. And that has to do with our higher function. It has to do with language skills. It has to do with accessing some more like adult parts of ourself. And then when you get lower in the brain, so this area here, so underneath the neocortex, we have the midbrain limbic system, and then we have the brainstem. And so these are the parts of our brain that have to do with unconscious process. And the unconscious process actually happens about 20% faster, and actually different studies show different things, but 20%-ish faster than the neocortex, than the higher process. And so what this means is that our emotional processes, our emotional reactions and behavioral reactions come from a different part of the brain than our quote unquote higher function or more cognitive parts of our brain. And what happens, and one of the reasons I love what I do, is brain spotting addresses trauma capsules, is what we like to call them, in the limbic system in midbrain and brainstem, which is our body's way of protecting old pain. They kind of get stuck in there and informs our emotional and behavioral processes before the neocortex, before the top part of the brain even has a chance to take a breath. It even has a chance to respond. Our emotions, our primary emotional response has already come up and expressed itself in our body. So I love to use this example of, like, I don't know if anybody here has dealt or struggled with social anxiety, but I love to use this because a lot of my clients struggle with anxiety. So, you know, you might have had an experience in the past where you're really excited about this party that's happening, before pre-COVID, obviously. So you're really excited about this party that's happening. You put your best outfit on, you like have your, you're ready to go, you're so excited. And then you show up and you open the door, and all of a sudden there's this panic that hits you. And you don't know why, but you suddenly want to go to the bathroom because you're feeling nervous and you want to like gather yourself. So there's two parts of the brain happening. The neocortex is saying, hey, Jess, you're cool. Like, you're doing fine. Just relax. Everything is safe. And then there's something happening in the midbrain and brainstem that's saying, this isn't safe. I don't know why. Something happened. You need to take care of yourself right now. So it's like when we have these two stories going on at the same time, it really takes a tremendous amount of energy to move forward. So when we have those deeper messages coming from the brainstem and the limbic system, it's just a sign that our old pain stories, our old trauma is raising its hand and saying, this is hard, something doesn't feel right. I need some attention right now. So then, and you know, I wanted to check in really quickly before I move on to the next set of triggers. Does anybody have any questions? And Scott, if you could, I can't actually see everybody on, I'm gonna stop share real quick, hold on. Does anybody have any questions so far? Awesome, okay, great. So another set of triggers is just basically, oops. Oh, this should say the second trigger type is rooted in the present. So it's just like a, you know, this is like basic day-to-day stress that isn't rooted to our background developmental trauma. And so this is really like where we can add skills, we can add resources, we can add different ways of dealing with it. And it's, you know, this is really where we're going to be learning today, because we're learning a skill set. So in brain spotting and in other somatic therapies, we can go in and really unplug the childhood or developmental trauma. The skills are helpful as a support for our old pain, but it's not necessarily addressing the root cause. So I just want to be really clear about that there are two different types of triggers. And today we're working with the ones that are rooted in the present primarily, but they're both helpful. So how do we really deal with triggers? And I think that it really comes down to a sense of self-compassion. And so it's really that sense of like what we were talking about in the shares of, wow, a really big emotion is coming up. I don't know if I can handle this. This feels really big. Okay. All right, I'm going to stay present with this. And it comes down to that sense of radical self-acceptance of like, this feeling is really uncomfortable. I'm a little bit afraid right now to feel this. How do I accept myself in this moment? How do I accept that this is just a part of my reality in order to move through? And so we're going to go a little bit deeper into this concept, but really it does come down to making space for the emotions that already exist and then working where we can. Because remember, our primary response is rooted in a deeper part of the brain. We actually don't have a tremendous amount of choice about the primary response. And that's okay. That's okay. There isn't anything wrong with any of us for having that primary response. Actually, it's deeply human. It's deeply animal. And so for that reason, we can celebrate it. We can create a space of acceptance for those primary responses that we actually quite dislike, quite wish were very different sometimes than what we're actually experiencing. Okay, so let's break this down. What are some of the common judgments we feel when we are having a strong emotion? The first one, which happens, I hear in my clients all the time, I've experienced it in myself, is we think we shouldn't be feeling the way that we do. The second one, we should be feeling a different emotion at any given moment. And the third, and this is so common, and this is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this, we think our emotional state should be more positive all or most of the time. And there's a part of me that it's like, I want to sell positivity to a certain degree. Actually, I'm not really good at selling positivity because I do trauma work. It's just like, we are positive after we deal with the trauma. So what I really want to do is I want to normalize the human experience. Listen, I don't think that I've ever had a client who was like, yeah, I'm cool with all of my emotional states. I don't think that's ever, I can't say that that's true for myself. I often judge myself that I should be more positive all or most of the time, that I should have more jurisdiction over my primary emotional response, and that I should be doing things differently. But I will tell you that this is a losing game. So we're going to talk about ways to make it less of a losing game. We're going to talk about that. Let's see here. Scrolling down. Okay, so in the interest of time, these questions are really important. And unfortunately, we don't have time to check. I would love to check in with the answers to all of these questions with each of you. I really would love to, and I want you to know that. And we don't have time for that. So what I would really love are if you could just take a little minute and drop in, and maybe there's a question here that you feel more resonant with. And really drop in and think about what your own internal answers are to these questions. So let's go through them. What are some of the emotions that you feel resistance to feeling? What are some of your judgments about your emotional states? Are some emotions bad or wrong for you to feel? When you feel a difficult emotion, what do you judge is lacking in you? What would it look like for you to normalize your experience of being human? What might that look like, feel like, be like for you? So let's just take a moment and drop in. Maybe there's a question for you that feels stronger. Maybe just think about what this brings up in you. And I really do want to check in with the group. So I would love to hear from one or two of you. And again, I would love to hear from all of you. But when you're ready, if you feel like sharing with just a couple of sentences, what comes up for you? And we'll take two people to hear from today. And don't be shy. Oh, Candace. Yes.
Sure. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we've got you.
Okay, good. Um, well, first I'm experiencing, I'm talking too much. I definitely judge myself and have running stories about being broken or wrong for my struggles with depression and anxiety and trauma. Yeah. Lot of self-judgment, like I should have this figured out. I should be healed. Like, yeah.
And so I hear there's a tremendous amount of judgment that you should be in a different place, that you should feel differently, that things should be different in this moment. And I'm wondering if you could wave a magic wand and feel okay with your emotions and judgments, what would that feel like in your body?
Peace, joy, pleasure, just relief.
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 And when you drop into that feeling, peace, joy, pleasure, relief, is there a place in your body that you feel that sense? Can you
My
feel
belly.
that relief sweeping through you?
It's my belly, like taking my power back.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
So let's just take a little moment together, and can you feel a little bit more deeply into that power point of taking your power back and the relief in your belly? Is there a sensation there, Candace, for you? Is there a quality like warmth or tingles, or what do you sense there?
Fire. Yeah. There's also like water too. Like first I got water and then fire. It's, yeah.
Is that a sensation that you would be willing to meditate on and build as a resource for you when you feel like you're going to that place of judgment and sadness?
Yeah. I've been really trying to think of a creative way, like an actual tangible exercise, and I want to punch things. So I'm trying to find, and punching pillows, I'm sorry, it does not work when you're like, I want to hear, I can't see anything break. I want to hear it. I want to feel it break, so I'm working on it. I don't know yet, but I'll find something
Awesome.
healthy and safe.
I love that. And I would also recommend that as you are breaking things or doing some kind of a physical activity, that you also, if you're willing and able, you can also focus on that sensation in the belly and tie this physical expression of power or release to the strength in your belly that you feel. And what that does is it does help to reinforce those neural pathways and feel a strength in you in a different way. You get to harness that in a different way.
Thank you.
I love you. You're good. Okay, would anybody else like to share? And I can pull up the questions again too, if that's helpful. And it looks like, oh, Deborah, beautiful.
Yeah, I was feeling like it. So I notice for me in my current place in life, having done a lot of work on myself and, teaching and healing, that I'm at a place where I really want to be able to deliver my work, so it's a place of wanting to be welcomed in or empowered or say included on shows. Uh, and sometimes just judging myself even, but mostly I feel like I'm ready. So mostly it's sometimes being, I'm going to try not to use any words or specifics, but being in a situation or with um a group and then seeing certain people showcased and then wanting to get out there and thinking I'm just as good as they are. I've had all this experience. I've taught and designed workshops for 4 decades. I've taught retreats. I've taught lights, camera, action, and breaking through to excellence, and this and that, and now more universal heart wisdom. And so, and then I judge myself for okay, how can I request to be included, in a more as you said, neutral, calm,
Grounded.
grounded,
Yeah.
easy to receive way, of course,
So,
wanting to make it pleasing.
Deborah, do you mind if I ask a couple of questions about this?
Okay.
Okay. So, what is your primary emotional response to this experience? What feeling or emotion do you actually feel in your body?
I
Because
think
I'm
it's
hearing
a sadness.
sadness.
It's sadness. Yeah. I can almost feel the impulse to cry,
Yeah.
the feeling of being left out.
Yeah. So I'm imagining that there's just a really deep longing for a sense of belonging and a place. Recognition.
Yeah. And a sense of urgency of being like in the last third of my life, and like I want to deliver, I want to give the gifts. I have the gifts to give. And yeah, I think sometimes in this culture there is a feeling like sometimes in many companies the younger people will be sometimes chosen. So I want to be able to stand on the wisdom that I've developed, and have it have a value that I'm not the young 30-year-old or something. I have, some wrinkles appearing. I saw Margot Anand deliver last Saturday, and she's really aged, and I want to be able to. I just feel like I've studied so deeply in the areas of universal spiritual. I'm very inclusive in the spiritual, to honor everybody's paths and the wisdoms that come from all of them, and in the healing arts. And so I want to get to know you better, since we're colleagues, and I just everybody who's in the Love Coach Academy, and just to come forth. And I'm doing whatever I can on my part to design some classes and get them ready to present. And I have been invited by Trish to get on her show, so I'm grateful for that. And I want to invite also my fellow brothers and sisters to my show. So I feel it courageous just to say this, and there's a backdrop of the fear of getting in trouble somewhere. Like, somebody might get mad at me. That's scary. So somewhere between sadness and fear.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm hearing that there's a couple of things going on, so that there's a strong desire to create a legacy for yourself and to also share your gifts in a way. And I hear that there's maybe a judgment in there about, well, I've earned this. I fucking put in my time. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell, man?
I
Why
have,
not? Yeah. And I'm also hearing, because, you know, of course, like here, it sounds like you have a lot of strategies or ways to go about maybe fixing this what feels like a blockage. And it sounds like there's a really strong desire and will towards moving through that blockage for yourself and creating something new. And what I'm really hearing, the deeper sense of sadness. And I hear, yeah, I mean, really what stands out for me is a sense of um, just a longing to belong, which is such a deep human emotional desire to belong in community, and how natural it is for us to have those judgments of, well, why not me, right?
yeah,
Why
and there are places where I mean, I feel like I've had a lot of, I've felt like I belong a lot in my life, you
good?
know, and I do feel like I belong with the Love Coach Academy and with my healing group and with friends, special friends. And yet, and I also love partnership. I really do love partnership. I don't like being like the Lone Ranger where I've got to just charge, you know. So I love partnership, and I'm very willing to bend and bow and be flexible and to collaborate. So thank
Beautiful.
you for
Yeah,
just thank you
absolutely.
for this beautiful class that you've
Oh,
designed and for the information, and I'm grateful just to be able to share. Thank you.
oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for being vulnerable.
Thank you.
I'm just checking in here with the chat box, and we have some really beautiful shares here. That Naomi says, yes, I have had some emotional response with a certain trauma from my past and present relationships where I've been ashamed for crying. And how normal is that, right? Where a lot of times why we have judgment about certain emotional states, certain ways of being is because, you know, maybe we were shamed for them in the past. Maybe our parents, despite their best effort or without any of the effort that we needed as children, were not able to support, nurture, care for us, make space for us emotionally in the ways that we actually needed as children. And even despite parents' best effort, you know, of course, we're all human and we fail. And, or maybe not even parents, but just developmental relationships. So it doesn't mean that other people are bad or wrong, but as Scott always says, it's often, you know, we create belief systems based on other people's availability or willingness to meet our needs. And not everybody is capable. And that creates real judgment and shame for us, especially as we're growing up, and can as adults too. I mean, I've certainly experienced that where I think, am I safe? Am I safe to feel this feeling with this other person? And then, you know, we deal with our own judgments about it. So Anuprabha says, I feel I should be able to get over my sadness, grief, and fear that comes up when I'm triggered. And yes, thank you. I had, you know, I've had so much judgment myself about, like, I've done so much work. Why am I still triggered right now? Why do I still, when I do these shows, get the freak out stress armpit sweat? It's like I'm scaring away predators. But, you know, that's just the way life is sometimes. My body is reacting because I really have a deep desire to care. So let's see. Chris says, I feel resistance to fully being with what is most difficult because I feel if I fully feel it, I can't bear it or stop. Where might it take me? Where is the container? What resources besides grounding do you use to bear the seemingly unbearable? Oh, Chris. So beautifully said. So there are a couple of things that come up for me here, and I'm going to deter from the slides because I think this is vitally important. And actually, let me just write some quick notes because I want to make sure I say what needs to be said.
Jessica, may I say something while you're taking notes?
Oh, please, yes.
Okay, thank you. This is kind of, I guess, you know, to you as well as to George, and you know, with reference to feeling like I lost access
to what used to help me in my emotional resilience. Like I knew how to be me and deal with the trauma and all that stuff when I had vision. And now that I don't have vision, it's, and he related it to a part of the brain. And I'm just like, I'm really grateful for George's share, for one, on that. Like I have another level of empathy now, because that's definitely like a thing for me, because I'm disabled now. I'm not going to be able to do dot to dot to dot to dot, you know? And yeah, so I was really appreciating the vulnerability, and definitely have some curiosity. I want to pick at George's brain.
Yes, that's gorgeous. Candace, I'm so happy that you and George were able to, or that you were able to build that self-compassion and that self-empathy for really the true difficulty that you are facing, having had everything change. And that by hearing someone else's experience of disability, or however, or just different challenges in life, that adds compassion to your experience. I love that for you. I want that for you. And how beautiful it is that as we share stories, we are able to have more compassion for ourselves, knowing that we are not alone, that we're actually doing a great job with the skill, with what we have on our plate. It's amazing. So I want to get back to Chris's question about what resources besides grounding do you use to bear the seemingly unbearable? And what I love about this question is that this is one of the fundamental reasons that we don't go into an emotional state, because in the past, maybe we felt that we weren't capable of handling those emotional states. And certainly if we look at the brain and we look at these trauma capsules that we have, or past pain capsules in the brain, that's what happened when we were children or when we were in developmental phases, and our brain could not process. We didn't have the skill set to properly process what was happening to us. So we stored it. We stored it for later. And so truly, like, that is a realistic fear, because that actually did happen, right? And many of us, I know myself included, I've struggled deeply with anxiety, deeply with depression. I have been suicidal before. I have had ideation of suicide. Like, I get how strong emotions can be. When our heart breaks, especially if we're deep feelers, it breaks big and we feel it, and it's physical. So there are very real reasons why we have resistance to feeling. And this is where I'm going to lean into Emily Nagasaki's work in Come As You Are, which, again, amazing book. But she really talks about how emotions are actually a tunnel. They're not a cave. And what I love this imagery, because as someone who has struggled deeply with anxiety, for me, anxiety is harder than depression because I just feel trapped. And so for me, going into those caves of anxiety, if somebody says, hey, why don't you just like go feel your anxiety right now? It's just like, no fucking way. Like, that stuff sucks. It makes me so physically uncomfortable. I don't want to do it, right? So there are these balance points, I think, when we're talking about trauma. One, I actually believe that if we are really struggling, there are actually solutions. And there are, that's why I do brain spotting. There are other somatic practices that can help go in and heal the brainstem and take out these limbic system difficulties, so that we actually can just close the door to the past, take the learnings from the past, integrate them at a really deep level, and just move on. Because really what I believe is the pain is raising its hand to say, hey, this is still uncomfortable. Can we integrate this, please? I don't think that it has intention to harm us, but I think that until we can meet it with grace, it's really difficult to move past it. And oftentimes for me, that's meant reaching out for help. And so I wish that I could give like really practical skills and tools for dealing with that very deep pain. But unfortunately, I don't believe that works. And I'll tell you, because based on my experience with brain spotting, it's just different parts of the brain that are activated. So having someone who you can work with, who you trust, who you can develop an intimacy with, and who can offer presence with you and reflect back what changes are actually occurring in real time, which is like nuts. Like, that's so big. Because when we heal on our own, we forget to give ourselves credit. We just move on and we're like, oh yeah, I used to be fucked up. Like, no, like, this is big. This is huge. Look at what you're doing differently. And so to have an advocate who's going to do that for you is really important. It's been essential to my healing. Because I can go into meditative states, I can go into those places, but it's different when we work with other people that we trust. It's different. So there's that. So the one idea, emotions are not a cave, but a tunnel. This is important, right? Emotions have a completion cycle. It's have you ever seen, I talk about my dog a lot because she's like my primary partner right now, but my dog, when she gets upset about something, like she hears a dog bark, she wants to get protection or protective, she can't see outside because she's not tall enough to look out the window, she's like, ugh. And then she realizes that it's okay, she runs through her stress, she lets that adrenaline pour through her, runs through the stress, and then what does? She yawns, she shakes, she releases it somatically from her body, she releases that anxiety, stress response from her body. And I truly believe that our emotions are meant to run their course through that tunnel and just complete, and then we shake somatically, and then we integrate, and we're okay. The problem is, and this is like the downfall of me as a human being, and really most people that I've worked with, is that when we're in that tunnel, often we don't feel confident enough to ride the wave of the emotion, and we distract ourselves with judgments or secondary emotions about what we are feeling. So I might be feeling stress. Let's just use sadness. I like sadness because it can be a real trigger for people. So let's see, I'm on my millionth Tinder date, and it again doesn't work out. I went in with real high hopes. There's not even an offer for friendship. It's just like a real flop, right? So I go in feeling hopeful. Maybe this is years ago because I feel like most of my hope has run dry at this point. I go in feeling hopeful, come down from the date feeling sad, wondering if I'll ever meet my true match that aligns with my hopes and dreams and desires. Coming home to my dog, feeling alone, feeling like, is this ever going to change? Right? So that's a tunnel. That's a tunnel of sadness. So what's happening? I feel sad. That's just one emotion. Judgments. I'm never going to find my person. My dreams are too much. Judgment. What the fuck is wrong with me, right? So it's like, if I were just to stay with that sadness and let the sadness ride out, that would go straight through the tunnel. But we distract ourselves with these judgments about how we feel about how we should feel. And that's really the PowerPoint of this talk that I want to share with you today. Is we don't actually have a lot of choice in that primary emotional response. The sadness, I don't really have a lot of choice about that because it's coming from a different part of my brain. What I do have choice about, and what can be cultivated, is how I feel about how I feel. So I can very easily take myself into a shame spiral about all the things that are going wrong and why I will always be alone. Or I can be like, wow, this is really shitty. I feel super sad right now. I wish I wasn't alone. Do you hear the difference in judgment states and in emotional states? One is adding compassion and a listening ear. And like what Sarah had talked about right in the beginning of class, is like the way that she loves her son. Or Anuprabha, the way that you talk about loving your children. There's a sense of, how do I hold myself in a loving space and just let that emotional self ride right on through? So when we start making ourselves bad or wrong for the way that we're feeling, which we don't have control over, it really sucks. And I know that it's very hard. So this goes back to what Chris was saying too, because we often have judgments or really strong fears about feeling these emotional states, like really going into them. Like the judgments can be something like, I'm never going to get out of this. I'm going to feel like this forever. I might not make it through. How am I ever going to survive? So, I know that there's real reasons, and that would be a time to reach out to a trusted practitioner. But most of the time, for most of us, I would say, not most of the time, for a lot of us, we actually do have more skills and more choice than we recognize in the moment. And so that's what I want to do. That's my hope today in sharing with you, is recognizing where our power is with emotions that feel powerful, with emotions that we are afraid will bowl us over. And the power is in recognizing, one, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are doing great, and you are managing this whole human situation really well, really well. Two, there is nothing wrong with you. Three, let's make choices where we have choices to make. So let's meet ourselves in those deep spaces with self-compassion, with radical self-acceptance, with internal loving voices to help us move through the emotions we can't control and not make it worse for ourselves in the process, but actually make it better and facilitate the completion of those stress cycles. So how are you guys doing? I've been talking for a while. I'm really curious what you're taking from this, and if there are any questions, ideas coming up for y'all.
Yeah, I really appreciate everyone's vulnerability. Chris, what really touched me when you're saying that, and it's like, coming out of this environment where I was really afraid to speak growing up. And now I'm singing in a band, for example, and have been, right? So it's like, really, thanks. Yeah. Oh, for everybody who doesn't, who's new, we do twinkle each other here at to feel seen and heard, and at Love Coach Academy. And so what I found huge, and what I really experienced with my most recent band, my Bhakti rock band, which actually came out of helping a dear friend of mine transition. She loved my music, and so we played lots of kind of musical venues for her as she was transitioning. And what I realized in this group that came together with this band, there was a situation that one person in the band was really, really critical. And he got really critical of my guitarist. And then of course, I stood up for him and said, hey, this is just a rehearsal. We are experimenting. This is a safe place. And then he turned on me, started yelling, and all of a sudden, and my guitarist also grew up with an alcoholic family. And I realized, both our throat chakras just shut down, And then I really got it. He was asked to leave the band, basically. And then I realized everybody that was in this particular band, we all loved and supported each other. We just, the band was that deep listening. It's another language with music anyway. It's a whole different language, and we're just deep listening. And all of a sudden, this crew, we were just listening and loving each other, and it created a safe space to riff, to be creative, to make mistakes. And often my experience with my guitarist, who also I sing with, is maybe we don't always start out on key. Maybe that's not, and that doesn't have to be but we get there. You know what I mean? And having that compassion for myself of not having to be perfect, of not having to get it always right immediately. Just like not, I think that I kind of have that like, whoa, if I can't get it right, don't even start, don't even open my mouth. You know, it's like, no, no, no. Take it easy, relax, slow down, tune in. And once I can just relax and tune into my being and just let my throat chakra open and just trust and go with that, then there's the flow and it's all in sync. But I really need a loving space of people to do that. You know, and most of my life, in all kind of areas of my life, to really feel safe, I need to feel safe. I need, and I'm giving that to myself now. You know, I'm feeling I'm worthy to have safe people in my life. I don't have to prove anything, you know, and I can, if somebody's making me scared all the time or criticizing me all the time and not wanting, like, okay, that person doesn't really, I don't need that person, right? You know, I don't have to prove anything. That's not working for us. So I'm really inviting in now, not avoiding, just really inviting where's my safety zone? Where do I feel safe? Where, especially in creative aspects, where can I create out of? Like if I want to be creating out of. Of course, as you've heard, I do have to go into those uncomfortable situations with, you know, different family members, people, relationships. There is that. And I love that too. But and I just really see like this, Chris, what really resonated for me was when I read yours was this like vulnerable space of like, whoa, but I really vibed with you. And what really supported me was in this connection with friends who just really love me and like have a yes to me. No, you know, an ally in my life. Like that's why my band, we created my band. It was Bhakti Arya was her name, and she died. And she was this incredible ally in life. Loved me no matter what. You know, that kind of person. And that helped me open up, for example, that kind of energy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, how does that feel land for you, Chris? I don't know.
Oh, I can see the connections. I'm already seeing, well, I think you might find pleasure knowing I actually have a really good, lot of support and a lot of people I feel are very positive for me. And you're also getting me to think of additional ways I can create community. And that's actually how I create. That's how I prefer to create. But I feel there's a battle against seeing individual success and forgetting that there is community, even just and teachers and all of that. So it's a good reminder this morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you. And Anuprabha, while you were speaking, because I typically think of things in a microcosm, macrocosm. So like the broader concepts that I hear you guys maybe both speaking about to a certain degree are that I think that we all need to feel safe in order to elicit that creativity. And because there's a vulnerability in creativity. There's a vulnerability of sharing ourselves in a creative way with others. And so there's safety, willingness, vulnerability to be creative. And creativity for me is a lot about curiosity. It's a lot about opening our mind to meet what is, to dance with it, to be open, curious, and to learn from it and with it. And then from there, that's what I think the flow is when we feel really good and in alignment and in tune and we're moving with life in that really beautiful way. And so what I love about the structure that you laid out is that I think that that's how we can learn to meet our difficult aspects of ourselves, is that we can create a safe container within ourselves to allow that creative expression of these less desirable emotions, to be creative about the way that we meet them by trying out different personal voices within ourselves by trying out different things and seeing what works for our own being to release fully. And by being curious about the process, which really is a part of the neocortex. So we're bringing in that skill set to these deeper parts of ourselves. And I love that. You know, like I said, we don't always get to choose what happens. We do have choice within the actual situations that present themselves. And that's really, I think, where the beauty of life lives. You know, it's kind of like in relationships. I feel like there's, Trish was saying last night on our show, she was talking about how there were a couple of difficult situations lately and with her partner, her lover. And she had a lot of difficult emotions and reactions coming up. And that presented an opportunity where her partner could either meet her with kindness and trust and love and understand and create a deeper connection together and go deeper with each other together. Or we can meet with well, that's not true. What do you want from me? You know, I don't want to feel you right now. That's ridiculous. And I mean, if a partner treated us that way, we'd be like, I'm out, right? But we treat ourselves that way a lot, I think. Maybe you guys don't. I sometimes still do. So we can create that point of compassion for ourselves so that we feel included. All parts of us feel included. Anybody else? Does anybody else have something that they maybe shared in the chat box that they wanted to be known, or anything else that they? We're closing up now in the next 5 or so minutes. So I just want to give space to share if that feels appropriate for anybody. Deborah, yes, please.
You know, I noticed out of being able to be vulnerable and share, it like opened up this channel, and suddenly I'm channeling in some new ideas for my class and my show. And it just showed me how much I have learned from my love of dance and music and art, that is like really central in my spiritual path. And I think it's something for me to bring forth because it links to other people, and it is a place that's very very opening, very healing, very soothing. And so I'm really getting from your teaching today, what you said at one point, whereas if you're triggered, you can't really be in the pleasure zone. And so it's that's something, a takeaway for me today, just realizing, and I agree with Anuprabha. For me, I've been actually loving my bubble during COVID. I've stayed home more. I've got into total home cooking. I used to just go to Whole Foods, and I've been just cultivating my sacred temple, and so it is seeing where the doors open for us, where we have friends that we love and trust naturally, or ones that we realize we could develop it even more.
Beautiful.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing vulnerably and for giving yourself the space to free out for new experiences, free that space through vulnerability to let this beautiful light flow coming through. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any shares or takeaways for our time together today, or questions? Of course, they're all welcome.
I think I would like to make a little comment. I'm thinking a lot about, what some people have said, and I'm thinking about, as part of accepting and processing our emotion, like a sense of accountability for our state of being. So, like if we feel something like exclusion or need for reassurance, we can ask for reassurance and that stuff, but I feel like there's a there's an element where like codependency might come in, where it is also important that we take care of ourselves and don't put our secondary anxiety about our emotion out to others to solve, that we can solve and treat ourselves with kindness for that. Don't worry that we feel this way. Be patient with it, indulge in the self-care of it, and pass through it instead of necessarily seeking for that to be solved externally, I think.
I love that. I love your language when you said indulge in the self-care. There's something about that that just reminds me of chocolate. And I am pro what you said, Laura.
Thank you. Yeah.
And yes, I hear you deeply and I appreciate your insight into that. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, so thank you. This has been interesting to reconsider. Yeah.
Good. Awesome. I'm so glad. And anybody else have any reflections, takeaways, questions, ideas? No pressure. Beautiful. So one thing I would love to share with you guys is, I know we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of class, but we do have relationship essentials and mentorship and the mentorship program coming up through the Love Coach Academy. So if you're interested, please connect with Scott or I about, or Anuprabha about, Anuprabha, are you open to receiving that? Or should I? Great. Or Deborah, if you're open to receiving it as well. And we can get you set up with how to register, more information if you have questions about that. Obviously, I'm extremely passionate about what I do. And, everybody at the Love Coach Academy comes with just such a tremendous set of skills and gifts, and we all have our own form of healing. If you resonate with brain spotting or you're curious to know more about it, I do offer free discovery sessions. So what you do is you just go to the website, and then there's a little button on the top. I'll pull up let's see. Scott, would you mind pulling up my website and putting it up there?
No, not at all. I'll do it.
Thank you so much. There's a little button on the top that says free discovery session. It is very easy. You can also scroll down to the bottom and send me a note if you have other questions about this class or, really anything. I like community, so reach out if you feel like it. This is the website. It's just my name, jessicaosterday.com, and the little button there. So, and yeah, if you're enjoying this class and you want to see some of the other amazing options that we have available for this 10-week course, you can use the link that you used to register for this class and sign up for the whole thing. And we also give you videos of the pre-recorded, of the ones that already happened. So Scott, is there anything else that?
I think the only thing I'd love to mention is that Anuprabha leads a empathy practice group every Wednesday night. Usually she leads it. And so it's free, it's open, and it's a wonderful way to continue to build support. It's Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. And so just really want to encourage everybody to come to that. Of course, I guess since you've given me the opportunity, I will talk about Saturday Night Alive. And here's tonight's poster. And tonight's show is really, every show, to be honest, I think is a great show. A lot of work goes into these shows. And tonight we're collaborating with Teresa Collins and the Global Coherence Pulse. And she's got some amazing teachers she's bringing in. We've got Greg Braden is going to be with us tonight live, and he's amazing. He's a really incredible teacher. And we've got Just Magic and a lot of other really remarkable people coming from as far away as Bali to be on the show tonight. So it's at 6 o'clock Pacific time, and always encourage people to come to that. So yeah, thank you, Jessica. You did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and I will make a YouTube this week and send it to all of you. And I did email everybody today an email with the previous YouTube videos. So I apologize for the delay in getting that done, but we're back on track with that now.
Oh,
Yeah, and thank you, Scott, for mentioning. I was sending it out to a few people that I thought might really enjoy the empathy workshop. So I really would love to invite everybody. We create a really safe, sacred container. It's not recorded. Everyone is just very respectful and loving, and everybody's heart is totally there with you in a really vulnerable way. And there's also possible to have breakout rooms if you just like a one-on-one. So I'd love to just invite everyone if they like to come. I can put my email address on, and then you could just, or Scott, Scott too.
I'll put the link in. Yeah, I'll put the link in too.
Yeah, or I'll put my email, and then you could email me and I'll get the link out too.
And Jessica, I noticed that Sarah was asking if there are any books that you recommend.
Oh, yeah. Emily Nagasaki's Come As You Are, but it really is to do with the female sexual response, but I love her take on sex or on pleasure and on stress and on sex too, of course. Any books, what is the topic that we're looking at? I'm sure that I could recommend some books. What are we looking for specifically?
Jessica, Emily has another book out too.
What?
And I just can't remember the title, but she was being interviewed by Brene Brown, right?
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
But it really talks about it goes more into the emotions and the tunnel and the cave and the tunnel, and it's very, very profound. So if you go to Amazon.com and look up the Come As You Are, we'll have the other ones.
Oh my gosh, and her audio versions are so good. Like, she's so entertaining. Yeah. So she really, again, normalizes the human experience. There's nothing wrong with any of us. We're all doing much better, I think. And Prabha, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I love her too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you listen to her.
Yeah, and Deborah, I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, and then I would love to mention that I do a Universal Heart Wisdom show, and we have one this Thursday, which is the last Thursday of February, and Magic Bernstein is going to be on my show, and we'll be doing a beautiful guided meditation and just also talking about being resourceful with self-love and how to live our best life. So it's going to be a really great show.
Beautiful. And what time is it on Thursday?
Thank you so much for asking that. It is from 6 to 7 p.m. on the East Coast, but most of you may be on the West Coast. So it's that is 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it will be, you can find it on the Love Coach Academy, where all these resources are. Thank you, Scott, for the Love Coach Academy, which is everyone. And so you can find it there. And I guess that's where to watch it from, or from my page, Deborah Haviland, as my name is there.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, gosh, you guys, I'm honored to know you a little bit more. Thank you for sharing such deep space today. It's really such a deep pleasure to share with you. And I truly believe in each of us. And I just want you to know that there is someone in the world who knows that you are powerful and that you are infinite and that you are beautiful and that you're doing a great job. So I love you. Thank you so much. And I'll see you again soon. I hope. Reach out if you want to. All right. Bye.
Great job, Jessica.
Thanks.